So, I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about the theory of the case of what we're doing here. So you heard Senator Lieberman talk in broad strokes about what we're doing and why it's important. I'm going to walk you through a little bit more strategy and the tactics, and then all of these folks are going to take any questions you have. So one of the things I want to start with, I think this clicker works. Does this clicker work, or is this a phantom clicker? It gives me an illusion of power. Oh, there we go. Okay. So I want to start with this slide. Last fall, Harvard released a study, and they were looking at the competitiveness of the U.S. economy. And so what they were looking at is, how good of a job have we been doing in sort of building the foundation of our economy? And what they basically found is that for the last 10 years, we've done nothing. If you look at that last sentence, they said they believe that the political system in our country, the dysfunction of it, is now the single biggest obstacle to our economy growing. So that goes to show you how serious the problem is. We're talking about it. This is no longer just a nuisance. This is materially destroying people's lives. It's making it harder for everybody to get a job and get ahead. And that's why what we're doing here is so important. You look at these issues we have, all of you are familiar with our 4 goals, you know what they are. Our budget issues, the fact that people's incomes are stagnating. It is a crisis. There's really no other way to describe it. So, people like the early Tea Party. Call it chamomile, maybe. Look, we talked a lot here over the years about polarization and partisanship, but what we're going to do here, let's really hone in on what the problem is, because it's not an abstract thing. You have the original Tea Party, the far right. They're feeling very triumphalist, as the senator said, and what they basically want to do is they feel like, we won, let's just ram through everything we want over the objections of the Democrats. On the other hand, our herbal Tea Party, big parts of it have turned into is in effect a hysterical opposition. It is maximum resistance. They don't even need to know what the issue is to know they're resisting it. We actually had a situation where people came out against the Supreme Court nominee before it even got announced. So that's the sort of level that we've reached here. And so what No Labels thinks is the logical solution is if you have a far right and a far left and they're intransigent and they don't want to get anything done, that there has got to be a new center in this country that can push back against the extremes and push forward on the things people care about. And that is what No Labels is all about. It is a singular focus on problem solving. And we're trying to lead this effort to organize everybody here and to organize Washington around the things that we think are important. Come on. There we go. So as a lot of you know, the signature accomplishment of No Labels over the last year is this Problem Solvers Caucus. And it's really important to talk about how this came together. This started out of meetings that No Labels was just hosting among members years ago, just to get them to build trust, to build some relationships with one another. And what happened is they took ownership of it. So the Problem Solvers Caucus as it exists today, it is not controlled by No Labels. It is an independent, member-driven caucus with its own leadership. You're going to meet a lot of those folks later. Its own bylaws and standards. They are all aligned behind these 4 goals. And now what they're going to try to do is they're going to try to pass some legislation that can actually bring us closer to those goals. So we are very excited about the work that those folks are doing. So this is what we think the Problem Solvers Caucus can be. We hope is what it can be. It is not for us to say what it can be. It's member driven, but this is the dynamics you're looking at in the House. 40 or so members may not sound like a lot, but House Freedom Caucus, which is the Tea Party in effect, that's 32. The Progressive Caucus is 73. Why that matters is because though they may not be big numerically, they stick together. So when a member of the Freedom Caucus goes to Paul Ryan and says, this is where I stand on a particular issue, Paul Ryan knows there's 31 people behind that member who probably feel the same way, and they need to be reckoned with and listened to. And that's what we want to ultimately get to with the Problem Solvers Caucus. Have them be a group that has to be reckoned with, that has to be paid attention to. So this is what the hopes are for the Problem Solvers Caucus this year. They're aligned behind the big goals. That's great. We want them to pass legislation that makes progress toward it. And then the big vision is that they do become, in effect, a freedom caucus of the center, a durable bloc, a bipartisan group that hangs together and votes together. We really think of these folks as the deal makers in Congress. That is what we want them to be. So, no labels. What is our role in this? We are trying to empower this new center in every way we can, and it begins with all of you. There are so many different ways that No Labels is trying to affect change. There's so many different tactical things we're doing. A lot of what we're going to be talking about today. Let me go through those really quickly here. So this is all the kinds of different things No Labels are doing, all to the same end, which is to empower this new center and to get some problems solved. So, as you see here, we're supporting problem solvers. We are starting to get attention. A lot of you saw David Brooks sort of identified us as at the forefront of this new center last fall. We have a rapid response operation. That's a lot of the digital work that we're doing to make sure our voice is in the middle of these debates. We are, of course, organizing all of you. We've got our radio show and our digital activation. That's a great sign for how active all of you are, and that's really a testament to all of you. No Labels benchmarks itself against various interest groups. Our online engagement most weeks meets or exceeds the NRA on the right and MoveOn.org on the left. So give yourself some time. All of that is you. So that is what No Labels is all about. And of course, that is only one part of it. So as we work to support this new movement, we know there has to be some protection, and Senator Lieberman talked about that earlier, that there is a political element to this, that if we can't line up the political incentives for members, where it actually makes sense for them to govern this way, then the fact is, and history sort of proves to us, that they're just not going to do it. So this really is the root of congressional dysfunction, what you're looking at right here. 9 out of 10 races in the House across this country are solid red or solid blue. So what does that mean? It means the primary election is the only election that matters. And so you can have a situation where you might have a district with 1 million people that effectively has its representation impacted and chosen by the 50,000 or so people who bother to show up in the primary, most of whom are far right or far left. And big surprise, that's what we end up with in Congress. So we had a problem solver sort of tell us that members of Congress, and I sort of said this earlier in one of the meetings, are nothing if not finely tuned weather vanes. They do what the incentives tell them to do. And so if the primary incentives tell them to go far right and far left, that's what they're going to do. So this is what was really exciting. Last year, a group of supporters of No Labels, independent of our organization, they decided to stand up a super PAC as a test. And it worked, and we'll get into that in a second. But the goal this year is to fundraise $50 million to get behind 2 kinds of candidates. It's either members who are doing the right thing, this group is going to try to protect them, or to take out members who are doing the wrong thing. Those obstructionists that we know have no interest in government. And look, we really think this is a game changer. This was the article that appeared in the Wall Street Journal on December 4th last year. You can all go look it up. And this really kind of sums it up, one of the quotes from the big funders of this. There has been no reward at the ballot box for being a problem solver, and there's been no penalty for being an obstructionist. Until that changes, nothing changes in Washington. So this was the test we did. And I want to walk you through this really quickly, and then we'll get to some questions. What we did last year is we got involved in 2 primaries. We wanted to see if this worked. And the approach was all focused on turning out the kinds of independent voters who typically do not show up. Okay? It was a proof of concept. And it worked better than we could have ever imagined. We were in 2 races, one in Kansas, one in Florida. He raced in Kansas, and we'll pull this up for you right here. Oh, wait one sec. Oh, that slide's out of order. Well, so I'll tell you what. Let me just define really quickly what it is we mean when we talk about an obstructionist or a problem solver. Yeah, oh, here we go. Perfect. So these are the two races we were in. The Super PAC got involved in. In Kansas, this guy Tim Huelskamp. Anybody from Kansas here? Does anybody know Tim Huelskamp? Okay, he's not very well liked. Somehow, even though he's from western Kansas, he managed to get himself kicked off the Agriculture Committee. It's not good when you're from Kansas. He does not play well with others in the sandbox. So we got involved and we supported his challenger, Roger Marshall. We did something similar in Florida on the left. You can see that there, that's Alan Grayson. He was a representative down there in Florida. It says he was on the House floor. He said the Republican health care plan was for people to die quickly. Not very constructive. His district manager and his wife were running to replace him. We went against him. In each case, we won. And we won on the strength of turnout. In Kansas, turnout was up by 50%. And in Florida, turnout was up by 33%. And when the team went back and looked at the numbers, it wasn't just a coincidence. The turnout was up where our team targeted voters. It was down where we did not. And so we think what we've got here is a powerful tool that worked really effectively in 2016 in two races. That was the proof of concept. Now, the big thing here is to scale it up in 2018. So we want to take this to scale. And we think when you go from two races to dozens of races, now you start to get people's attention. Members of Congress are aware of this, and we think along with the pressure that all of you can bring to bear on these members of Congress, we can combine that with a political operation. All of a sudden, we have that realignment of incentives we need, and all of a sudden, our weather vane congressperson might actually tilt in the direction that we're looking for. So, look, to close up, nobody can know what's going to happen week to week in Washington. It's so unpredictable, but we feel very comfortable and confident in the strategy because the one thing we do know is that the far right and the far left, whatever they're offering, it doesn't work. Their solutions aren't sustainable. They can't get them through. Even if they could, they'd probably just get overturned in the last election. So we feel like our strategy of bringing the parties together, finding common ground, is the right one. And now what we'd like to do is turn it over to this panel of folks here who have a lot of experience and be happy to answer any questions you have.